Welcome to another episode of Homestead Shop Talk. This is episode 11. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about preparing for winter. Believe it or not, winter's going to happen, is going to be here before we know it. And we're going to talk about what we do to prepare. But I feel like Al is going to be the only one that's going to be talking.
I'm sure you guys have some different things you do to start getting ready for fall and winter. I guess your winter is probably more like our fall year round, right?
Pretty much.
You never know. You never know, though, Like, we might get the, random 100-year-old storm rolling in.
Right? That's what it seems like this year. It's been like 100-year weather breaking reports all over the place. So maybe you guys will have like a 4-foot snowstorm this winter.
Yeah, and it's
That'd be
like,
nice.
I'll be calling you up, Al. What do I do? What do I do? So yeah, we're gonna be talking about that, and then talking about our week. See what kind of things we got going on this last week. I never remember what I do during the week. I always have to write it down right before we do this podcast. Like, think about it. What did I do?
Right.
So I just finished that lean-to shed that I'm trying to save water off of. I feel like I feel like I did pretty good. I think it took me about a month off and on to build, just basically myself. And the only thing that did concern me, and tell me what you guys think, is, it's 12 feet wide. And I used 2x4 rafters. I was a little bit concerned after I put the rafters on, using 2x4s, that it was too wide of a span, that it would sag in the middle. But I mean, it's not holding snow, really. It's not going to really snow here.
That's what I was just gonna say. You're not gonna have like any weight ever sitting on it.
No, I don't know. Just looking at it after I had put it up, I was like, I probably should have used 2x6s. I would think it would take, if it did sag, it would take years.
Yeah. How was it when you got up on the roof? Because you must have been on it.
I didn't get on the roof. I didn't have to get on the roof to
You
put the panels on. It wasn't like I was able to just use my ladder and just kind of go. But
It might
I
be
think it'll probably
okay.
be fine.
Yeah, it'll. And barring that 100-year storm and we get 4 feet of snow,
Right.
yeah, it'll probably be
I
fine.
mean, I put cross members going the other way. But I don't know. It seemed like fine, but I was second guessing myself.
I guess worst case scenario, you could always put another set of poles up in the center and run some more 2x6s going horizontal at the 6-foot mark, and then you would definitely wouldn't have any issues.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it seems like it would be fine, but I don't know. I guess we'll see. We'll
Right.
see in about 10 years. So I sold my old mini truck, the one that broke down. I sold it
Nice.
to somebody. I had put it on a YouTube video, and I had, when you, I was reluctant to do that because I told everyone to, if you're interested, to email me. And I was curious to see just how many emails I would actually get. And, but I only got 10 emails, which is not bad.
Okay. Nope.
And
I almost
so
emailed you.
you should have. But yeah, one guy was, I had a few people that were like, they wanted to talk to me on the phone, and I'm like, I don't want to call you on the phone. It's either I could answer questions through email, it's like a Facebook Marketplace. You're not calling people on the phone, like you're going through emails, So, but one person says, you know what, I could come, like it was like 2 days later, like I could come, this week and look at it. So they drove like 4 hours, and you could tell, I could kind of tell like he was serious about it. He's like, I'm coming with a trailer, and he made it. I guess he's a mechanic. He knows how to work on trucks, and he bought it for him and his son, like a project for him and his son to work on. I think his son was like it seemed like he was in high school. He was there or something, and they were really nice people. They just came in and picked it up, and I was like, so.
What's their plans for it? They're gonna put a new motor in it, do a head gasket, or they say it all?
They didn't really say. I think he mentioned maybe. I don't think he mentioned putting a new motor in it. He was just gonna put a new head gasket in it, I guess. I mean, I guess he would see when he gets it, but yeah, he didn't seem too concerned about it. He was just like, oh yeah, it's no big deal. I'm like, all right, So that was cool. I'm glad I was able to get something for it.
Right.
And then
I actually had
like
one of my neighbors ask if I could get you in touch with them. They wanted to buy it. I thought that was funny.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
I know. Next thing you know, I have a bunch of mini trucks in the back. I know. No, I don't. But the new mini truck that I bought, this is funny, man. Like, I was just I put the old bumper. I had took the bumper off of the one I sold and put it on the new truck, and then I was just kind of looking inside of the truck and stuff, and I flipped back the driver's seat, and there's like a little pouch back there, and I just like opened up the pouch. I never noticed that before, but there was 12,000 yen, Japanese money, in the back of the seat.
That's cool.
I was like yen. I was like, of course I Googled it. How much is 12,000 yen, and it comes out to $82.
50. Yeah. That's funny.
That's a few tanks of gas, though.
$82. I was like, it was like folded up, like in the back. Like I was like, what? It was kind of funny. I was like, am I on candid camera here or something?
You better go through that truck. You never know. You might have intercepted like the Japanese mafia's truck or something like that. I'd go through it and see if there's any other nuggets.
I know. I want to have a knock at my door. Yeah. A hidden camera in there or something. But yeah, it was kind of cool. I was like, man, this is kind of neat. I better save these.
So is that in the new mini truck or the old one?
That was in the new mini truck. Yeah. And I put new tires on it. So somebody from Japan sent me brand new tires for the mini truck. He imported them over here because I guess he watches our channel, and he drives a mini truck for like a daily driver over in Japan. But he has not a truck, he has a mini minivan that he drives, and he's like, I want to send you these tires. I was like, because I went to the post office, and the guy at the post office was like, because the guy at the post office like watches our YouTube channel. It's kind of funny. And he's like, hey man, he's like, I got tires for you. And I was like, tires? I was like, I didn't order tires. And he like comes over, and there's like, I was expecting like car tires, but they were car tires. They were little, so they were for my mini truck. And I was like, that's funny. So I took them home, and there was a letter in there. And so it was cool. Like the guy was like, hey, I just wanted to send you these because this is the tires that I use, and I really like them. They have a little bit more aggressive tread on them. He's like, they would probably help you better driving around. So yeah, super thankful for that.
Just the tires, or the tires and rims?
It was just the tires. I had
So you had to get them mounted and balanced.
yeah. I took them off the. I don't know about balanced, but I took them off the. I took all 4 of them off, and then all the old tires with the rims, and then I took them to a shop and then they put them on.
You didn't want to attempt to mount tires yourself with no tools?
I thought about it. I went to Harbor Freight and was like, they sell like a tire thing to do it, and I was like, I don't know, I'll probably get frustrated. And I was like, nah, I better not do it.
Again.
And then plus the place I took them at was $60, and they were done in like 15 minutes. Have you tried it?
For the excursion tires, never again. I'll just pay the $100 to get them mounted. That was horrible.
You have the gutter up on the lean-to, collecting water yet?
No, not yet. That's the next thing. That's going to be something because I want to do. I feel like I want to do like one of those first flush systems first.
Yep.
Where it does the first flush and then it goes into the main water tank. So it's going to take a little bit to I'll probably end up going to Lowe's like 100 times, trying to figure out, the pipe, the PVC pipe, and how it's going to, connect, and finding all the right fittings and all that stuff. So that's what I'm trying to figure out right now.
I think it's Homestead has a pretty good video about doing that.
Mm. Yep, I think I did see that when I was looking that up. I read a couple of things. I've seen a couple of things. Like some people say, like it's more trouble than what it's worth, because there's, they get clogged. There's a little bit of maintenance. I don't know. And then some people say that it won't hurt, but I don't know. I figured I'd try it since I've never done it before, just to see how it works and see if it's even worth it.
How far is Lowe's and Home Depot from you guys? You got to keep making trips.
It's about 20 minutes, 25 minutes.
Okay, it's about the same for me.
Yeah, it's not real far. We're pretty close.
That's a given.
Far enough when you got to keep going back and forth.
Yeah.
All right, I guess I'll jump in, talk about my week. I'm like Jason. I have to like write everything down, everything I did, or like pull up YouTube and be like, oh yeah, that's right, that's what we did. So just kind of, we've been working on getting fall garden stuff set up. Like I'm getting the greenhouse set up, ready for fall and winter. Even having a greenhouse, once it gets freezing cold outside, the temperatures at night just get too low, so it ends up freezing all but like the cold crops, your cabbages and stuff like that. So realistically, we're just planting what we can, and hopefully we'll have it to eat, at least around Christmas. Unless I were to figure out, like, I would really like to build like a rocket mass heater inside of a greenhouse. I think that'd be really cool, but I just don't have the time right now. Pretty much the main thing I did this weekend that didn't make it to YouTube was I made another chicken tractor. Last week I made like a Siskovich style chicken tractor. It's kind of the sow the land version of the Siskovich chicken tractor. I really like the way Jason has built his, so I just copied his and did it with just an arch rather than the A-frame look. And man, it's a game changer for doing meat birds when you can just move the thing out of the poop onto fresh grass, get in there, do what you need to do, get out of there. Oh, it's so much nicer being able to get in that chicken tractor instead of like lean over with a stick, or like when you're moving a chicken tractor, if you have those fat lazy ones that don't want to move and you end up running them over and you have to walk around and pick it up and let them out. It's just, this is so much better. So yeah, I built another one. I built pretty much identical. I figured strike while the iron's hot. It's all fresh in my mind how I built the first one. So I built this second one, did it in about, I don't know, day and a half. And that's including the trip to Lowe's to get what I needed. But yeah, it's out there full of chickens now. It's nice to see those two chicken tractors out there. And I think that'll probably get us.
It's gonna be it'll be really nice on Butcher Day to have that.
I think that is pretty much the main motivation for building these is on butcher day. It is so miserable crawling on your hands and knees trying to catch those last couple chickens. It's completely worth it. And I got 2 of those chick lifts. Those are a game changer. Those are an absolute game changer. So
You did.
moving, you just walk around, step on that wheel, it pops the thing up, it moves easy. That's the way to go.
I was going to ask you how heavy they are, but if you got the chick lift, it really doesn't matter at that point.
They're pretty heavy. I built them out of 2x4s. They're all, the joints are all lap joints, where everything connects together. It looks real clean. It's pretty sturdy. I'm not worried about going over a rock or a bump or something and breaking them.
Right.
So yeah, I'm pretty happy. I think part of the problem is up until now, everything I've done has been just get the job done. Like, we just need a place for chickens. We just need to get everything running. And so everything just looks janky. And so now we're to the point where I have the time and the budget to actually like make stuff look nice. And so having some nice looking chicken tractors is like, it's the bee's knees. After a while, you get tired of looking at your own junk. And I think it's finally got to that point. It's like, why am I dealing with this? Like, all of my chicken stuff looks janky. Like, everything looks janky. So I'm remedying that.
Yeah, at a certain point, you get tired of looking at pallets and tarps.
Yep.
You do. Our chicken tractors need to get redone for next year, for sure. We've had them for a few years now. They're made out of those like picket fence posts that you can get at Lowe's and Home Depot. They lasted for 4 years-ish, but now they're just all starting to rot and fall apart. So it's like, yep, time to do something again.
That was about how long ours lasted.
It cost me $20 to build. Yeah. It cost $20 to build them 4 years ago. It's probably $100 now to build that cheap little one, I bet you. Yeah.
I know. I have an old video that I did building my first Siskovich chicken tractor, and the video was called $150 chicken tractor. Now it's like $700 chicken tractor. It's something like that.
Actually, I think I only had like maybe $200 in material before the wheels. So they really weren't outrageous, but yeah, they can be pretty pricey if you're buying top of the line stuff and the chick lift and all that stuff. Chick lifts are like
chick lifts.
Oh gosh, what was it?
200.
Yeah, it's like $200. They're pricey.
But they're pricey, but I bet you they save a lot of chickens from their legs getting ran over.
They do. So far, I have had 0 casualties moving.
Yeah.
Plus, you don't have to bend down.
Right.
That's right.
It's one of those things.
Being able to use your feet.
How many meat birds do you guys do a year, Ben?
Right now, we're just doing 100. You figure 100 times.
Just 100.
Yeah, just 100. It's like 600 to 700 pounds of chicken if you think about it. And when you we kind of talked about this a couple podcasts ago. 600-700 pounds of chicken, about the same in pork, about the same in beef, and that's like more than enough meat for a year. So, yeah, we figured out that we would rather do just a big batch all at once. The spring batch sucks because we're butchering in May usually, and usually by May it's already up towards the 90s and it's just hot and miserable and there's flies. And we found doing it in fall, we've actually found they get bigger because they have to eat more to keep warm. And like come butcher day, it's usually in November. That's when we plan for it. It's cold.
Okay.
Like you don't have to worry about keeping ice and stuff like that. Doing it in May, that was the biggest struggle, is like keeping ice in the coolers because it's so hot outside. So yeah, we like doing it in fall.
Now, is that around the same time you do your pigs?
I think with that question, I could easily segue into what our topic of the day is. So I'll let you talk about your week, and then I can get back to that.
There you go. We've been busy with the workshop. Been all dried in for a little while now. Now we're working on building some interior walls, and I started doing the electrical wiring, so we can start getting some. We gotta get the electrical wiring done so I can get some wall sheathing up, so then we can install all of our solar stuff. So we kind of got to do it a little backwards because I got to have a good solid wall mount the solar stuff on. So before I get that, I want to get some wiring done, so that way behind the wall it's already done. But it's been kind of nice to have some inside work because we've been such a rainy summer, but now we're having some nice dry weather. We've had a lot of like finished grade work around the workshop that wasn't able to get done when they made that area for us because it was all a big steep bank, so we had them dig down and like pull the dirt back and like level it off, make a big terrace, which they're able to get it nice, but they couldn't get like the finished grade because everything was so wet. So it's finally started to dry out, so they're able to get it all graded up nice around, and then we're gonna put another like a U driveway through. So if we want to be able to pull in and just pull out with a trailer, we don't have to like jig and jag to turn around and get back out. So it's been kind of nice seeing all the finishing touches start to come together. So we're getting excited. Then we'll have some solar stuff to start doing. But we've been starting to think a lot about fall and winter. Last week we had a lot of 42-degree mornings. It was pretty chilly. And right now it's like 90 degrees out. So this week it's like an Indian summer for us, but we know fall and winter's here. The leaves are starting to change already, which seems kind of crazy. We got some maple trees that already got yellow leaves. So grass isn't growing as fast. I don't know. We still want to get a barn up this year because I don't want to be milking the cow when it's like 20 to below zero. Just like out in pasture, out in a little small, we're trying to think ahead, like, okay, we need a good sized barn to keep the cow and to store hay, a place to milk. So trying to get a bunch, I don't know, it seems like for us in our area, it's like rush, rush, rush for springtime because you're finally getting out of snow and you're excited, chomping at the bit, and you want to start growing stuff. And then you have a short season, and it's like, oh, we got to rush, rush, rush because winter's going to be here before we know it. So we got to finish harvesting the pigs and putting food away and getting everything ready for winter.
You think that'll be your next project? A milk barn?
Yeah, I think we're gonna do a barn. We're gonna do an open concept, like basically just like a kind of like what you built, Jason, but bigger.
Mm.
And then as we know exactly our needs and how we want to lay it out, we'll stop putting more walls up. Just because I don't know exactly how. We want to start raising more pigs, get some breeder pigs. We got the dairy cow, but we want to get into beef cattle. So I want to have a place to have the beef cattle come in the wintertime if we need. I don't want to get a huge herd, but something. So we want to kind of have like a bunch of areas that we can use for deep bedding and stuff and hay storage. So I think we'll do like what you did, but just a little bit bigger kind of thing.
So you got to chop
But
wood?
I'm curious what you guys thought.
You got to chop wood, Al?
So we buy it cut, split, delivered. We always get a hard time for buying firewood. But to me, that's one of those things, like, there's always so much to do in the homestead. You kind of got to, like, outsource something.
Yeah.
With the firewood, we buy it from a local guy. He cuts, splits, delivers it. He buys the logs from a local logger. I think, if you figure if you're buying the wood log length, I'm paying that guy to cut, split, deliver it like $100 a cord. So it's like, yeah, I could go cut down my own trees, but if you had to buy all the firewood yourself, log length, $100 to cut, split a cord of firewood is, it's kind of worth it to pay $100, I think, right now. When you consider your time and if there's something else you need.
Yeah, I know. When we were on our 1.5 acres, we had a little tiny wood stove that I had put in our single wide mobile home. And that thing was so little that early on I would pay to have wood delivered, but then I would have to chop it down like further because the stove was so little. Oh, I feel like I had to chop it down like 3 times. because of that, and it was such a pain, you know. But I had to remind myself though, like, man, this is I wanted to do this, when I was in my office job, I would be like, I want to go out there and chop wood, like it sounds so romantic, and burning in my wood stove in my house, uh, and now that I was doing it, it was like, yeah, this sucks. I could think of it's like I felt like it was like mowing the lawn, you know, like I want to mow my own acres, sitting in my office job. And then after I was doing it, I was like, yeah, this sucks. Like I could think of something way more funner things to do.
Right. Are you gonna do a wood stove in the new house?
We talk about it, but I don't know. It's kind of like the house is, I feel like there's not really a good spot for it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know where we would put it. I feel like it would have to be maybe like in a corner somewhere. But I don't know. I mean, it did originally have some kind of wood furnace down in our basement, and
Okay.
and it was that's how it got heat because there's a chimney on this place. But when we bought it, there was no stove down there, but there's like a hole for one. Um, but I can't imagine putting one down there and having to, feed it all the time. I think it's important. I would think it's important. I mean, we liked having the one in the mobile only because, we're on all electric here. And if something were to go out, the wood stove is kind of like our emergency, our backup,
Right.
then we have no heat. Like right now, like if the electricity would go out in the winter, we'd have no heat.
How long do you guys get a heat for usually? So like for us, I probably run the wood stove 5 to 6 months a year just to heat the house. Like right now we got the outdoor boiler, we run that year round, but I'd say it was 5 to 6 months worth of at the other house. We'd have that wood bur- wood stove
Mm,
going in the basement.
I don't know. What would you say, Ben? Like 2 months?
2 months.
For us, we heat the house from like starting in December. Sometimes in November we'll have a cold snap, but from Thanksgiving until maybe March, like towards the end of March, something like that. But by March it's starting to warm up again. So yeah, really just 3 months.
You guys gonna run ACs all summer long, like 6 months out of the year, or
Actually, this like cool
Yeah.
weather we've had the past week, we've turned off the AC and opened up all the windows. It has been very nice. We slept with the window open last night, and it actually got so cold. It
Mm.
was like down in the low 60s. It was like, yes, this is nice. I need my hoodie this morning. It's my California blood right there.
You think you'll ever put a wood stove in your mobile home, Ben?
We've talked about it. We are very closely considering adding on to this mobile home. We're going to build the deck soon. I say that. I've been saying that for 6 months. But we've talked about, because of the way I'm going to do it, I'm going to change the roof line. And if I do that, we could add on. And if we do add on, we'd add some space in the living room in addition to what we want to add on down on one end. And we would add a wood stove. So I have a couple wood stoves. I think I have four of them. I've had two people give me wood stoves, and then we got one at a estate auction. So I've got wood stoves everywhere. Just in case. It's
Yeah.
like if we ever need it, it's like, yeah, I'll just slap this in here real quick.
How about you go, Ben? Like, what are you doing to prepare for the winter?
So, see if I could. I should have like wrote down. I wish I could like bookmark my thoughts. Uh, Kind of in that vein of like, what are we doing to get ready for winter? Because we don't have any. We heat with electric. We don't have firewood to speak of, which we hope to remedy that. But just the situation we're in right now, we don't have to worry about that. Um, kind of the things that we're working on to get ready for winter is we're trying to finish up preserving everything. We enjoy eating out of the garden. We enjoy eating what we put up. It's, for a lot of reasons, health is the main one. If you don't know what's in it, you don't know what you're putting in your body. And so eating our own food is kind of important to us. So yeah, like I said, we're putting away the rest of the garden. We're getting to the point, we're about ready to rip out the tomatoes because they're pretty much done. Down here, late summer, you start dealing with fungus so bad it just starts just wiping all your tomatoes out. So tomatoes are about done. We're ready to put the garden to bed. I think that's a conversation me and Meg were having earlier today was let's start wrapping everything up. Part of that is because as soon as we head into fall, as soon as it's cold, we are going to start processing animals. We've got a whole bunch of pigs that we're going to process. We've got the cow, chickens, like I mentioned earlier. There's just a whole bunch of stuff that we want to get done. Because we're doing classes with these pigs, the pig classes are going to stretch into January, which January is a great time here to do stuff like that because it's so cold. You can hang them outside at night and you don't have to really worry about them spoiling, which is highly convenient. I understand why all of the old timers always used to butcher once the nights get down to below freezing. It's really convenient not needing a walk-in cooler. But yeah, so that's kind of the stuff we're working on. Yeah, it's real cold in January. I want to say this past January, when we did a hand-hewn workshop, and the night, the pig we killed, we just hung it outside where we gutted it. Like I have a little gib crane that I built, and we just hung it from that. And when we all came in the morning, those sides of pork were frozen solid. So it's highly convenient. No cold storage needed. Just work with nature, work with the seasons. There's a season for everything. And if you're going to get into doing your own meat, December, January, that's the time to do it. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at. Yeah. I am a little envious of how soon it gets cold for you guys and stays cold. For us, like our first frost date is in October. It's October 15th, but it gets real cold in November and then it warms back up like the first week of December. And then towards Christmas is when it finally gets cold and stays cold for the next couple, 6-8 weeks. But yeah.
When's your first frost date? October 15th?
Yeah, October 15th.
I think that's our first frost date too, which is kind of crazy.
There's a lot of places that's the first frost date, but your lows are a lot colder than ours. I think that's where your USDA zones come in. We're a 7B, I believe. And what are you, like a 4? Are you colder?
4B, yep. No, we're a 4B. Yep.
Yeah, so
So
quite a
our
lot,
first
a
frost
lot
date is
colder.
September 15th.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah, you're a month before us. You guys are headed into fall. That's awesome.
We are. Yep. It'll be fall here before we know it.
I remember the first year we moved out here. The very first year it snowed on Halloween.
Wow.
I mean, snowed. I mean, it wasn't like 12 inches or nothing, but it was a little bit of something.
Yep.
Yeah, that's unheard of coming from Southern California.
Yeah, I know. We're freaking out. We were freaking out. We're like, what is this? We're like walking out there like, oh my gosh, it's snowing. It was amazing. I'll never forget that.
Now, do you guys got to worry about your water freezing? Like, do you got to take any extra special precautions for your animals? very
So
much, or
pretty much, like I use those 55-gallon drum waterers for the pigs, and they are functional up until it gets down into the low teens. Um, they have enough mass that they don't really freeze solid. Now, this past winter in December, when it got down to single digits, yeah, those suckers froze solid and they didn't defrost for a week. So that was kind of a
that's our
struggle.
issue.
Uh, yeah. I got some, after the fact, I got a whole bunch of tank heaters, and I can just run tank heaters to wherever I need them. It's kind of a pain in the butt running extension cords all over this property, but it's really only for like a week at a time, barring the 100-year freeze that we could have. But yeah, actually having that cold snap really opened my eyes to where all of our weaknesses are. And water is such a big deal when all of a sudden, it's not a matter of you don't have water, it's a matter it's frozen. All of our spigots are all frost free, but you put a bowl of water out for the animals and in, 45 minutes it's frozen solid and they can't drink it anymore. So that was kind of a challenge. Some cases I just have to haul water from, all the way up here at the well house down to the animals. I don't really have any water lines ran out there yet. I would like to get some put in, but that's where we're at.
That was one of the first things we did was bury water lines like 4 feet deep. And we put a gravity spray in because it's like, yeah, in the wintertime, you can't run hoses because they're not going to defrost for you. The animals' water just freeze up, and like we couldn't have one of those 55-gallon drums that would freeze from. That would be probably frozen solid from November all the way to February, March anyway. So it's kind of like one of our big struggles is you got to always have water. And I guess the easiest thing I found is just do those black rubber dishes, not constantly, but fill them up a couple of times a day. And when they freeze, you just bust them out and do it again. So this year, It'll be a little bit more interesting with the cow because she drinks a lot more water.
Yeah, we only had the two Kuni breeding pair this last winter. Or actually, no, we had one of the beefy boys, one of our cows this last winter. But now we have 4 more piglets. But yeah, water is always a issue. For the most part, though, if it's sunny out but it's cold in the morning, by like 9 a.m., like all the hoses are, they're thawed out by 9 or 10. So usually I don't get started to chores. I was like, well, I might as well not even go out there till 9 because everything's frozen unless I want to haul buckets around. But that's why I think for us, like I really want to do a greenhouse before it gets cold. And I want to put our egg layers in there and maybe even our pigs in there. And I think that would help with the water situation as far as maybe it won't freeze, but that's what I really want to do. I don't know if I'll get it done before this winter, but that's what I'm trying to look into right now.
How big of a greenhouse you want to do for the animals?
I don't know. I mean, I was thinking about I want to do 2 of them. But at least one, I was thinking 12 feet wide by maybe 60 feet.
How big was the one you kind of had for the pigs at the other property?
That was
kind of like a hoop house style.
Yeah, that was basically a greenhouse. That was 12 foot wide by 30.
Okay. So twice as long, basically.
Yeah. And yeah, for the coonies, I mean, the coonies are just so easy going that they don't need much. You planning on doing anything with your greenhouse, Ben? Over winter?
We'll just be growing in it. It's kind of funny. I would really like to run animals in the greenhouse for exactly the reason you just said, for water. But I mean, we got it and we have immediately hopped into growing food in it. I guess having your chickens in there, you're growing food still, but we like having vegetables. It's not like we can't go to the store and buy fresh vegetables, but
Yeah,
it is nice to
that's
be
true.
like, hey, you want like stir fry with cabbage? I'm just gonna walk out to the garden and pick some cabbage or some broccoli or something in January. Like that's kind of cool.
Yep.
So that's I don't know. Maybe once we start ripping the rest of the stuff out, maybe I might like cordon off like I don't know like 15 feet of it, and we'll stick our mobile flock out there. But I don't know. It one thing that is nice about shutting everything down for the winter is there's no grass, so there's no more rotation of the animals until spring. And I'm very much looking forward to the end of rotation for the year. Winter's just like it's nice having downtime, like honest to goodness downtime.
I know. As much as I like animals, I kind of like raising the animals and then butchering them all before winter. But I like that. It gives you a break, but at the same time, it's probably not the best. I mean, now that we have the bigger property, I feel like I should have like bigger animals year round. Like we're gonna raise, more beef at some point, and I feel like I should get them now probably and just take my time with them and just like have them for like a couple years and not be in such a hurry to butcher them
Well,
or a milk
that's kind
cow,
of the
right?
old way is you just buy them in the spring and butcher them in the fall. That way you don't have to feed them over winter. It's one of those things. If you've got the
Yeah,
forage or you
yeah,
can
that's
support
true.
them over the winter yourself, then it's a little bit cheaper.
Now, does your winter really slow down for you guys, or does it just shift? Like for us, it slows down with animal chores because you don't get the meat birds, you don't have pigs, but then you still stay busy with snow removal, and I don't know. It just seems like you've moved from one busy to another busy, which is nice because it's seasonal, so it's always changing. Or would you say you have more of a slowdown time in the winter, or you still pretty much as busy?
A slowdown with animals, yes. I would say like the
Yeah.
inside projects start. Like that's when I spend the most time in the
Yep.
barn building stuff and like I try to get down there and make knives and do some forging. It's nice to fire up that forge when it's freezing cold outside because I mean, it'll have that barn warmed up real quick. So it's fun to be down there beating on metal when it's cold outside. Uh, but kind of the past couple years, we've had so much going on. I'm like prepping, getting beds ready, building compost. There's a whole nother set of things that go on during the winter. Like honestly, it's a sweaty mess out there flipping compost during the summer. My favorite time to make compost is in the winter when it's cold. Because I mean, there's something so satisfying about flipping a compost pile and just seeing just steam billowing up in the cold morning. Like that's awesome. So yeah, there's a whole different set of chores and things that have to be done over winter, but it's all right. Like it's a change in season. It's a welcome change in season.
I just know a lot of people are always like, "Oh, it slows down in the winter," and I'm like, "Where I am, it don't slow down. It
Yeah.
some things, it changes, but you're just as busy year round." I'm
Yep.
like, I don't think it slows down, but
Yeah, it's more of
I don't
like
want to give
Ben.
people the wrong perception.
Yeah, well, like Ben said, like it's more inside work. Like we have a kitchen that we need to renovate. Um, also like more of like a greenhouse, like building a greenhouse, more building project stuff, or like my fence. I need to put a new fence. You know, I feel like the fence line is going to be my winter project. Doing some woven wire in various spots. Um, yeah, now that we have no animals in the winter or hardly any animals, uh, I think it shifts into preparing. Then you're preparing for spring, right? Preparing for
Right.
summer, and trying to be ready for that.
I will say I'm jealous with that because you guys can do like outside projects like year round, like in the wintertime, you can be able to clean up your yard if you want. We're like us, like December, January, maybe you could be out there like fixing fence and building fence. And for us, the ground's frozen. There's snow on the ground. If you don't have something prepped, if you don't have like a groundwork prepped for, say, a building by November, you ain't building any projects outside. So watching you guys do your projects, like, man, that'd be perfect, especially if you want to build a fence or cut the forest back and everything's dormant. Seems like for you guys for like 6 months, then you can actually be out there working. Where for us, it's frozen or you got 5 feet of snow. It's like, that's not happening.
Yep. Yeah, that would be hard. We had talked about moving to Michigan before we came to North Carolina and fell in love. And honestly, I'm glad we didn't, just because I don't think moving from California to like Michigan winters with all that snow, I don't know if we would have been able to survive. We probably would have gone crazy. But the more of North Carolina winters we've had, I think we probably could move up someplace colder. But it's like you said, dealing with frozen everything is a whole different ball game.
Yeah, you got to plan. You got to plan more. Like I'm looking for, like we've been planning, we're doing a lot of building this year in the last couple of years, but I'm looking forward to once we have a lot of our big main structures in to kind of shift to not so many big projects and trying to, and we've just been gung ho, but it's like we have such a small building season. If we don't start springtime, like right when the frost gets out of the ground, you're not going to be able to do all your stuff because you got to plan ahead. And if we don't have like the shell put up by November, you're not going to start building a new, a barn or an outside project until come springtime. So makes the planning a little rougher. So, or more important, I should say. So it'll be nice once the bigger projects are done and we can start doing smaller inside stuff. And what part of Michigan were you looking at, Ben? Was there a certain area, or were you just like looking at the whole state?
See, we looked over here, and then, up in the UP. For the people who are audio only, I held up my hand the way. Honestly, it's kind of a cool thing when you go to Michigan. People talk about Michigan by holding up their hand and pointing to various locations. There's a few places we liked. We really liked the UP, but that's what everybody says. Everybody loves the UP until they live there, and it's like snow, like 10 feet of snow. But I don't know. We didn't really have a particular place. There's a few places we liked, Manistee and, further up north. But yeah, it wasn't in the cards.
The snow is nice. It's fun to be able to get out in the woods and play. And I don't know, it's completely different in the woods when it's covered in a bunch of fresh snow and it's deep and the critters act different. And yeah, it's nice having a change, but it can get long.
Do you guys have like backup generators, stuff like that?
So yeah, we have a backup generator because we're on solar. So we have enough solar panels as long as we get 2 to 3 hours of full sun a day that we don't need the generator. But this past winter, a lot of days we'd be lucky if we got like 1 hour of good sunlight, and we had such an overcast winter. We would put like 130 or 150 hours on the generator to charge all of our batteries back up. Yeah, about 300 gallons of propane is what we went through to run the generator for the winter.
Wow.
But that's the electric bill. That's what we pay, other than having to pay up front for all the solar. Now it's just whatever we use for propane in the wintertime. I know in our other property we had wood heat, and the wood heat was, it was trying to think the name brand. It's an Amish-made wood stove, Energy Max DS. I think it was DS is the name of the company. It was Amish-made, and there was no fans or no nothing, and that would heat the whole house. So I designed that because I'm like, we live in an area where you don't lose power a lot, but if you lose power and it's 20 below zero out, and you don't get heat going for a couple of hours, it gets pretty cold in the house. I don't want to have to worry about that. So we designed the other house to run off of just wood heat with no fans or anything, and that always heated well. And we had a backup generator, but we didn't have to use it. I mean, in the wintertime, if you lose power, as long as you have heat, and if you lose power, you can just stick all your frozen stuff out in the snowbank if you need to.
Yeah.
You don't got to worry about.
Yep.
That's true.
Do you guys have backup generators? Because when you guys have a storm, it's kind of more severe for you guys, I feel like.
Yeah,
I
we
have a
got
backup
backup
generator,
generator.
but I never had to use it.
We probably have to dust ours off once once a year, maybe twice a year. Um,
Yeah.
I try to pull it out every so often, fire it up just to make sure everything's all hunky dory. We've got some redundancy. I've got batteries and solar panels stashed in various places to where I can charge batteries and charge really anything I need. I've got inverters and stuff like that. Small stuff. But yeah, anytime the power's gone out, I think the longest we've dealt with a power outage around here was like 4 or 5 days. So it's usually not very bad.
That's long enough, though, to lose your refrigeration and
Yeah.
everything if you didn't have a backup.
I don't know. I think anytime the power goes out, it's usually like winter storms, and so it's cold enough we don't have to worry about really, running freezers on the generator. Like if we have power outages in the summer, that's the biggest worry is worrying about keeping, all this meat that we're putting in the freezer um, cold.
Hmm.
But generally, Duke is the power down here, and they're pretty on the spot. They We've had trees fall. There's a power line cut right out at the front of the road, and there's actually trees laying on the power line right now. And I've called the power company and told them it's not a real big priority. But usually once a year, when the power goes out, it's because another tree fell on the power lines in that cut down there at the front of the property. Uh, and they're usually, when we tell them, hey, there's a power line in our driveway, they're usually there within an hour.
Have either of you guys tried salt brining a chicken?
Oh, yes. We always do our turkeys like that.
Oh, yes. Do
Turkeys,
you?
yeah. We did turkey last year with that. Yeah. Wait,
We've
you
been
gonna try it?
doing that lately with the meat bird. We've been
Oh,
doing it the last 2 or 3 meat birds. We've been doing it, and oh yeah, it's so much tastier. And to me, it makes the texture of the chicken almost more like a turkey, like the breast meat of a turkey. And then we've found
Something
that the chicken broth is a lot tastier.
something Meg has gotten into is she's been, making like breakfast ham, if you will. And so she takes odd cuts of pork. Like we like to take the sweet meat or the tenderloin. That's the inside portion of the loin, and she'll take that and she
Hmm.
brines it and cures it. And when she's done with it, it tastes just like like lunch meat ham or like the ham you'd cook for breakfast, like you slice off a log. It's exactly what it tastes like, and
Right.
I love anything brined is just amazing. I love brined and cured meats like that. It's so
yeah.
good.
You guys, you do your own bacon and everything, right, Ben? You cure that all and smoke
Oh
it.
yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Getting into all the charcuterie stuff is really the direction because on the note of uh, power and freezers and all that, we don't like being so dependent on power. Um, what happens if the power goes out forever? What if there's an EMP? What if there's a coronal mass ejection that takes out power? All the what ifs that you can think about. Well, there's canning, and there's going to be canning until the propane runs out. And then what? Well, we've got a lot of salt stockpiled, and we could just make salt pork out of all the pork. We can cure a lot of the random cuts. But, in the meantime, right now, the thing we've been focusing on learning is curing of meats. How do you preserve stuff that doesn't need power? Like being able to hang an entire leg of a pig in your kitchen and it doesn't go bad is awesome. Like if you ever need protein, you just pull the thing off where it's hanging, slice some meat off, and like you're good to go. Same with the bacon. We're gonna probably try it this winter. Is doing like a cured bacon, one that doesn't need refrigeration. I've heard they can be a little bit saltier, but the idea of any protein we can store that doesn't need refrigeration is like, that's where it's at for us.
Now, have you found any good books reading up for all that, like the salt curing of bacon and
Yeah, we've got a couple of them. I don't know them off the top of my head. I think one's actually called Charcuterie. It's got, yeah, Meg's over there in the corner looking. She's gonna pull out all the books for me. Uh, I think we've got like 3 or 4 decent books that we reference all the time. But yeah, it's so. Oh, she's bringing me an entire stack of books. Okay, we got 3 of them. Yeah, this is for the YouTube audience. This one's a good one. This is the River Cottage Curing and Smoking Handbook. That one's a good one. I really like that one. They have a lot of tasty recipes. There's the charcuterie book. That one's a good one. And then there's the River Cottage Meat book. It's this huge tome of knowledge. Lot of really
don't have that
useful information. Yeah, that's same as the first one. It's a river cottage.
but it's meat.
Anything you need. Really, like, kind of our philosophy is we are building off-grid Google. Build up your books now while you can get them, in case something were to happen. I don't know if anybody else has noticed, but it's getting harder and harder to find stuff on a search engine. All you get is mainstream articles and ads and stuff like that. You used to be able to put anything into a search engine and you could find what you're looking for. And maybe it's just me, but I am having a harder and harder time finding information that I want to find through a search engine.
Plus, cooking with like an animal that you raised, like you're gonna have a hard time finding like you don't know where to trust, and what's a good recipe, because not a whole lot of people are doing that.
I'd like to find a good recipe for like a cured bacon that you can just have hanging in your kitchen instead of having to go in the freezer and take a package of bacon out. You can just kind of like take it off the ceiling, slice out a couple of pieces, and fry it up every morning. I mean, that'd be pretty ideal.
That's this one, the River Cottage book.
That's that one.
They've got a recipe for that.
You
So when are you guys gonna be cutting into your prosciuttos?
That's a question that has been coming up a lot. I think the two that we've had. Yet? Yeah, we've got 2 of them in here that are at the 2-year mark, and well, just about in like January, I think technically is 2 years. They're guinea hog hams, and they are taking forever to lose the right amount of weight. We're waiting until they lose, I think it's 40% of their weight. Yeah, I think it's 40%. And they're stalled out. They're not losing any more weight, so we're just waiting. I think what's funny is like it doesn't really matter if you can eat them before they've reached that weight. You just have to cook it. If it's still got too much of its liquid in it, you just have to cook it. So we can eat them anytime we want. We just want to eat them, on a charcuterie board with, crackers and cheeses and dried fruit and stuff like that.
But if you ever needed it, you could just cut it up and fry it in the frying pan or however, and you'd have some. Yep.
Treat it just like salty bacon.
Yep.
Yeah, ours it'll be 2 years in November. But looking at it now, I mean, it's probably ready to go now. I mean, to me, I think it's going to be hard as rock. but we'll see for sure. I have my doubts that it's going to be edible, but
well, if you decide that it's too hard, I have a bandsaw. Just bring it over here and we'll cut all that hard crust off till you get down to stuff that's cuttable.
No, I can't wait to dip into it. We almost did this week, actually, because my dad was down, and he was like, I want to try that. He wanted to try it before he left, because he wasn't going to come back. He's not going to come back till next year sometime. And we almost did, and we just didn't. But we'll be doing it soon.
Now, have you guys ever found any old timers in your area that used to do all that stuff, like salting, smoking, and curing hams? Because you're pretty much in like the capital for that, aren't you?
Yep. Everybody out here does
Appalachian.
You're like
country hams.
Not that I know of. I don't think I've met anyone that does that, or like an old timer.
we've met a couple people out here that are, you know, the old blood, you know, true Appalachian families, and you know, they watch our YouTube and they're like, you know, we don't do them like that. We do country hams. You know, you bury them in salt and, you know, do them that way. And it's really cool to talk to people who still do that. Um, Honestly, I wish I could spend a couple weeks with them. It's like, show me how you do it. I want to learn, you know, the way that it's been done out here. Now, I will say, it makes a lot of sense why they do country hams out here, where they're buried in salt. Even doing the cure method we do, we've had problems. We've lost a couple hams. You know, after they come out of the fridge and they've been cured, you hang them up and they have to start drying. Well, then we'll have some warm weather in like March, and all of a sudden there'll be maggots dropping out of these hams that just came out of the fridge for their month-long cure, and we have to throw them out. It's a shame when that happens. But after, I think we've lost 2 hams that way, and it's like, okay, that's why they do country hams out here. Use the salt to your advantage.
Isn't a country ham? Isn't it like a salt and sugar mix for some reason? I feel like
It can
in
be.
country hams.
Generally, let's see. I have a neighbor who's actually doing one right now. Uh, Bury it in salt for the curing process, you know, period of time. Take it out. You wash all the salt off. Let it dry a little bit, and then you put your rub of salt and usually spices and sugar, and then you let that sit and age on the ham. And you know, after it's, I guess, once it's lost enough weight or enough time's gone by, then you get to cut it up and eat it the same way. So you can really do any recipe you want. You can do savory, sweet, anything.
I'd love to meet an old timer that did all that stuff. That just had the knowledge and oh yeah, this is how you do it.
Yeah.
That's like second nature to them. We'll have to learn it all so we can be like the wise old men someday, and people will be coming asking us for the wise wisdom.
Oh, that's gonna happen.
Right.
I know.
I'd like to get a nice cold smoker for sure. But those are kind of hard to find. Other than making them yourself. But
You got to make one.
Yeah, you got to build them.
What about a walk-in cooler, Al? Do you have a walk-in cooler?
we did. We don't right now. But in the workshop, we're making a 10 by 14 cool room, I'm calling it. And then in the future, when we're not using it for all of our freezer storage, I might turn in and put the cool box down there. But then we wanted to have a real root cellar. We have down by where the workshop is, we have a good sized bank that we dug out. Like, so we flattened everything off and there's a bank right here. So I'd like to dig into that bank probably next year and do a nice big root cellar.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
So we got a bunch of natural springs on the property. So I'm in my head, I'm always just thinking, we ever need a place we could just bury everything, what they used to do with the milk back in the day. They just build like a spring box, and because most of the springs are around like 40 degrees, so you can keep your milk and your cheeses and different things like refrigerator temp. But it'll be interesting to look back on all of our properties in like 10 years. We've all done quite a bit in a few years. What are all the properties going to look like in 10 more years?
Yeah.
That'll be pretty wild.
That'll be cool.
Yeah, well, by then we might have things to run out of. Like, we're not going to have no content there.
We'll have plenty of stories to tell.
I already built all the structures. I don't have anything else to film. Now it's me
Right.
just curing a ham,
Yep. Hey, by that time, people might actually be looking more and more for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you can't find recipes on Google anymore by that time. You
Right.
can't.
Not without a subscription.
I know. It'll be subscriptions for everything and apps for everything. Yeah, no more books. I think we're all looking forward to winter for cooler weather.
You guys will have to come up here some winter time.
When's the best
I'd
time to
love
come?
to.
When's the best time to come? In the winter?
Yeah, I mean, I think for you guys to experience, like if we had like a good cold, snowy winter, for you guys to come up sometime, we could do some snowshoeing or
That would be fun.
Ice fishing,
Oh man, ice fishing
winter
would be
camping.
cool.
We could be out in the.
I've never experienced like weather like that. I mean, North Carolina
When
is
you
the
walk
coldest.
outside what's the coldest?
Oh, it was 0 degrees here one time, like for like a minute.
Okay. For, so when you walk outside and your nose hair freezes instantly, that's when you know it's cold.
That's cold.
That's like cold.
Dang. Oh,
I
oh
worked
yeah.
at a 18-wheeler dealership, and we had like a 2-week stretch of negative 40-degree weather.
Oh
And then when
no.
it gets that cold, diesel fuel just gels up. So they'd be like, "Hey, this truck just pulled in the parking lot. It's frozen up. Go work on it." I'm like, "No. Like, who in their right mind is going to go outside with 40 degrees and touch metal?" Like,
Oh my
no,
gosh.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, I
Yeah,
can't
no,
imagine. I
that's
can't
when it's
imagine.
cold.
I remember when it was 0 degrees. First time I felt that, after we moved here, I walked outside because I was like, I gotta feel this. I don't know what 0 degrees feels like.
So we want to know you guys. We want to know you guys who are watching on YouTube and can leave comments, or if you're listening on podcasts, you can hit us up on YouTube or on any of our other socials. Let us know what you guys do to prepare for winter, and what are some things you look forward to in winter, what things you don't look forward to in winter time, because it's kind of interesting talking to people all around the country or the world, actually, I should say,
Yeah.
to hear what the different seasons bring for everybody. I like hearing all that.
I hope everyone enjoyed this podcast, and thank you guys for watching and listening. We're getting up there in the views, so we appreciate that. Even subscribers on YouTube, like we're getting up there. And then the people who listen to us on iTunes and Spotify and those apps, we keep climbing in listeners and views, so which is cool. But I appreciate everyone listening and watching, and I hope everyone has an awesome week. Thanks, guys.